Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about social competence. So I just wanted to start off by discussing a little bit about what that is. So mainly social competence is the skills that we have that help us to get along with others in a variety of different social settings. So children encompass various different skills through their social competence related to empathy, emotional regulation, being able to have perspective taking, learning how to ask others for permission, understanding what empathy is, and being able to cooperate with one another, learning what it means to be a friend and how to be friendly, working on solving problems when conflicts arise. So we're going to be talking about all of those different aspects of social competence. And as you'll be able to gather from this lecture in connection with our one from, last week, there are many skills that we need in both personal competence and social competence combined with one another. Social and emotional skills are important as a join aspect together, so you'll see a lot of connections woven in with that as we talk today. Okay, so the first area that I wanted to discuss is influences on social competence, and we are looking a lot at environmental factors when we think about how social competence can be influenced. So specifically on this slide, we're going to be discussing family and also could be caregiver or anybody who is working with children and their discipline practices. So when thinking about the environment, the types of caregiving practices or parenting styles, also known as discipline practices, can encourage or discourage how children are interacting with one another. And so when we use inductive or authoritative parenting styles, children are more likely to be open. Because there is a lot of discussion happening, children are more likely to have increased social competence because as an adult, we are providing reasonings for the rules. We are creating back and forth dialogue where we are setting healthy, safe limits, although we have high demands in what we are expecting for our limits, such as we need to make sure we are using kind words. Here are what they look like. We need to make sure that we are not bullying others. Here's what that looks like. We need to make sure that we are using healthy outlets for emotional expression. Here's what that looks like. There's a high demand. However, there's also a high aspect of responsiveness. So I'm providing extreme warmth, extreme consideration. Again, like I said, a lot of discussion is happening. So I'm open to talking about, hey, I know that you were feeling really frustrated and this is what happened. Let's talk about some alternative ways that we can express how we're feeling instead of using our hands for hitting. Here are ways that we can better address our big emotions that we're having. So we're talking to children, we're providing them with a lot of different complex ways that they can express themselves, and we are working with the child to create healthy social and emotional outlets for them. Another area of the environment that we can think about is the television or media use and peers in play environments. And so thinking about media use, oftentimes we miss opportunities for creating positive media messages when children are watching violence or playing violence and aggression in video games, and all of these can reduce children's social skills that they need to work with others and communicate their needs as well as solve problems in constructive ways. So it's really important that we think about what children are watching, listening to, and absorbing through the media. And then when we think about plays and peers, we want to think about different opportunities that children have to play in their environments, as well as the different types of toys that we have available. There's many different reviews and research on weapon play and encouraging safe weapon play, but also thinking about limiting the amount of toys that can be used as weapons and really giving children the opportunity to engage in role playing and thinking of different ways to engage with materials other than in violence and weaponry. And so thinking about how children can utilize other materials like the one pictured here. So we could pretend to be firefighters and we are saving the day, or we are in the kitchen, we are cooking together. We're working to solve problems at the laboratory. So many different other role play opportunities for children to work out a variety of different situations where a problem might be present, or somebody might be hurt or need help, or there could be something that needs to be further discussed with an adult as a mediator. And so many opportunities through social play, specifically sociodramatic play, where we are engaging with others and engaging in dramatic play. These are great opportunities to help influence children's social competence in more positive outcomes. And last but not least, I did just want to quickly touch on influences related to a person's individual development. So as we are gathering from our learning foundations and our discussions throughout the weeks, we see that children at different ages have different skills. And so we can see that children's cognitive skills, specifically related to memory and reasoning, can allow them to have the ability to understand that their actions matter, and so what is kind and fair, just versus unjust in regard to behaviors. Also, we can think of children as causal agents, so they have a better understanding of how their actions have a reaction, or they can cause things to happen. So they can make somebody feel upset, and then they can actually understand how this other person feels, specifically related to the past, present, or the future. Oh, when I was walking and I stuck out my tongue at somebody, it made them cry and it hurt their feelings. And I remembered that happened. And after I had a conversation with my teacher and my peer about this situation, I know that this was something that hurt their feelings. And so these are other alternatives on how I can communicate with somebody when I'm feeling frustrated at them, when they got in my space. And so it's contributing to the understanding of different interactions, both positive and negative. So this could also be connected to, wow, I remember my friend, they were smiling so much when I told them that I enjoyed playing with them and I liked that they waited their turn or asked me for a turn. That made us both feel happy inside, and so I want to continue to do that again. And so their memory as a causal agent in the past and then current and then for future events is going to help them to develop social competence. So they're understanding that their actions related to how they interact with one another causes an increase in their skills. Also, as we were discussing, the importance of emotional and social regulation. So my ability to control my own emotions is important when I'm interacting with other people. So if I'm able to take a deep breath before I say something that is unkind to someone, I'm more likely to have a positive outcome when interacting with that person, and I'm better able to figure out a way to get my needs met. Having an understanding of my own emotions as well as others' emotions, this gives me the ability to interact more effectively with others, as well as find healthy ways and productive ways for me to express myself in social settings. Alrighty, so now let's talk about the learning foundation. So on this slide, we're going to talk about interactions with adults and peers. So as you can see, from 3, 4, and 5 years old, we're increasing our skills when interacting with others, specifically in relation to our ability to communicate and express ideas with others. So around 3 years old, we're engaging in simple cooperative play, and we're starting to do more things together, but it's not fully formed. We are not collaborating with grand ideas and contributing greatly to a collaborative play scene or the ability to solve problems with deep, complex understanding of how others feel and how I feel, and developing, rules in the classroom per se, but I'm engaging in simple cooperation with others. We're playing at the same activity table. We might be looking at one another while we play. I might hand you a Play-Doh tool and smile at you and say, "Here, you play." And so we're engaging back and forth, and I'm starting to develop communication, share ideas. And around 4 years old, I'm feeling more comfortable and competent in my ability to interact with adults, and I'm familiar with adults. Hopefully, I'm able to have the same consistency with the adults that I'm engaging with. That's always better for children. And much more of my time spent playing is with children my age in my social settings. And so I'm engaging in a lot more shared activities just naturally within my play. And then around 5 years old, you can see that children are spending a lot more time engaging with both children and adults, and so there's a lot more interactions in regard to games with rules, and socio-dramatic play with an abundance of language has increased during this time. So I'm able to develop play scenes and to come up with different rules for my games during play and provide a variety of different contexts for how I want to go about interacting with one another. And now on this slide is specifically the discussion of group participation and cooperation. So how do children interact in group settings? So as you can see, there's a progression of how we're going to participate in routines such as cleanup or small group activities. And as we're getting into 4 and 5 years old, children are a lot better at being able to sit and participate in group activities such as circle time and being able to cooperate and understand the roles as well as creating rules. So being able to know what social expectations in the classroom are, such as what kind words we might use when we want to ask for someone's permission or to take a turn with their toy or to solve a problem. I might have a few different ideas of what that looks like around 4 to 5 years old. And then of course at 5 years old, we're increasing these skills, and specifically I'm more interested in adult approval. So that moral development that we were discussing as an important influence on social competence is starting to come forth, and understanding that my actions matter, and am I doing something that my teacher or adult will approve of, specifically related to my actions in the classroom, during circle time, during cleanup time, during play. All of those things are important to 5-year-olds in regard to approval from adults. And then last but not least, we have conflict resolution. So children around 3 years old, they are starting to share just naturally on their own, but I would encourage you as a care provider, adult in the classroom, parent, whatever your role is, to really emphasize the importance of turn taking so that we create respect for everyone in the classroom and giving children the chance to have control over their own actions. And so if we are constantly saying share, 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 it's going to be really dismissive of the child's need for autonomy and being able to fully flesh out their ideas and play for the extended period of time that they deserve. So yes, sharing is starting to come forth around 3 years old, but it's really important that we try to emphasize turn taking so that everybody has the opportunity to play with their things in a designated time. And also around 4 months, it's really important, even at 3 months, all ages, but we're seeing a lot more seeking of assistance for peer conflict. So there's a higher development of language and understanding about actions and the causation of actions, and so giving children more time in opportunities is important. So thinking about how we can help children in a variety of different ways to express themselves, to get their needs met, thinking about helping them to create opportunities for decision making. So if you'd like to do this, here is a way that we can try that out. So often we're giving guidance in this regard. So instead of this, let's try this, or I need you to do this. Instead of don't, we can think of what can children do instead of what they cannot do. So we're helping them during peer conflict time. So I see that this situation is happening. Let me pinpoint all of the areas that we might need to work on individually during that time in session, and then we can think about in a group setting how we might address children. And around 5 years old, children are more likely to use their words, but often since we have increased vocabulary, we might start to see some more unfriendly or words that are not kind in the classroom. So just keeping in mind that words can hurt and helping children to navigate appropriate use of language when they are working to solve conflicts, because they are trying, but they can often be more aggressive with their hands and with their language use. So thinking about helping them to navigate appropriate ways of engaging in conflict resolution that is going to support their emotional state, as well as taking into consideration the emotions of others. On this slide, I have outcomes of lack of social competence. There's much research that has shown that students and children with social competence often do better academically, and they have more positive personal relationships with others. And so this video, Reject, is really hitting on using science-based research to raise awareness on developmental outcomes of rejection, specifically focusing on a teenager and a preschooler, and looking at the impacts of bullying and violent behaviors to shed light on the importance of building social connections and having acceptance for people as human beings. And really, this is just the tip of the iceberg of much more that the world is showing on the outcomes of social and peer rejection within our schools, and we can gather more information from news-related stories and lots of history of evidence. Unfortunately, at this time, this video is not accessible through our library. It previously was on Canopy as of last year, but when recently clicking on it to try and get this accessible, I have not been granted access yet. So as soon as I am granted access for the Reject video, I will post an announcement and let you know. But unfortunately at this time it is unavailable, but feel free to click on the link if you're interested. The second link, click on that one if you're interested in looking at the website that talks about Reject, as well as learning more about behind the scenes. And you can watch a you can watch a trailer for the video, so feel free to click on the second link while we are waiting, hopefully, to get this video, and I will let you know about that as I get more information. Okay, so let's talk about some ways that we can support children in increasing their social competence. So the first one is helping to teach children conflict resolution. So being able to address a conflict when it arises and having healthy strategies and being able to solve problems with others. So the video here gives you a good example of what this specifically looks like through play. And then next is emphasizing the importance that everyone in the classroom, regardless of who they are, they have rights. We all have rights as human beings, and children are human beings. And so we need to make sure that everyone is treated with respect, and knowing that they are not going to be excluded from play. They are not going to be ousted, and everyone has a right to belong in the classroom. And these are skills specifically that are going to reinforce conflict resolution and supporting social competence. So developing an understanding that everybody is important, everybody belongs, everybody matters. These are all classroom rules and expectations that should be emphasized at the very beginning, or just in general as we are growing as human beings. These are things that should be discussed with children as early as we can, understanding that everybody has rights. And then also helping children to make decisions. And a big one on this is the opportunity to have decision-making time. So as adults, we have a lot of different ways that we might go about handling a problem, but it's important that children have opportunities to develop skills that they think are going to be most effective. And so during circle time, specifically with our 4 and 5-year-olds, allowing them opportunities to create classroom rules, assign roles for themselves with jobs. So thinking about them being in charge. What are the rules of our classroom? How should we treat other people? What will make you feel safe, seen, and heard in this space? This is your environment. You are meant to be welcomed here. And so what do you need in order to feel safe? And giving children independence helps with conflict reduction. And so If we give children independence in being able to create their own rules, they're more likely to follow those rules because they believe in these values, because they've set them out for themselves ahead of time, and they are embodying them each day as we go about playing with others. And when problems do arise, children know, I know how to solve this problem. I came up with all of these different solutions, and I have a decision that I know I can make effectively, and here's all these different strategies and skills that we've practiced. And like I said, during circle time, that can be a great way to hold class meetings for children to help encourage collaboration and social awareness of one another. So we can talk about what's going on in the classroom and helping to eliminate things being swept under the rug. So if there's a problem in the classroom, we want to address it to the whole class. We want to make sure that it gets solved before something drastic happens or it continues and we are not detecting problems that are going on. And so we want to make sure that we help children to work together to solve the problem. So I think that we can imagine if we did this more as children got older, how much better our school systems would be if we continued the notion of collaboration, and class meetings are going to be the best way to help solve problems. And you can be the mediator. You can ensure that this is a safe space and ensure that all children are kept safe during this time and taken care of, and their ideas are being flushed out. So you could have a board where you write down different ideas. If you need to meet with children one-on-one individually before or after to make sure that you are doing individual check-ins, that's okay too, but you're the mediator. You're the one who is going to be establishing what the space entails and how the environment is going to support social competence, specifically related to minimizing conflicts among children. Other ways that we can think about increasing social competence are through promoting cooperation. We want children to be able to cooperate with one another and develop empathy. We often hear the words sympathy and empathy being interchangeably used, but sympathy is really that you recognize and understand how somebody might feel, whereas empathy is feeling how someone else feels. And so you're more likely to take action in helping somebody because you actually can feel what they're feeling. Ooh, you're sad when somebody came over and said an unkind word to you. And if I'm the person who has said that unkind word and I care about you and you're my friend, I feel that hurt that you are feeling, and I'm taking on that hurt with you, and then I'm working more effectively to try and help to solve the problem. And so this is really important. We want children to empathize with others, and we want children to take action in helping people in all different regards. And so giving them the opportunity to have equipped skills and experiences with other people through play activities specifically that target a variety of different areas of cooperation. So cooperation doesn't just have to be when a problem arises in the classroom. We can cooperate in so many different ways with one another, specifically during play, specifically during play, we can help children to cooperate with one another. So when we provide activities where children are next to each other and they need to take turns using materials and they need to ask somebody permission before they go into their space, we can cooperate during building with blocks. And if we have a project that we're working on and we need all hands on deck, we have to cooperate and collaborate and share ideas with one another. We need to listen. We need to value and respect what somebody else is saying. So take turns in listening and responding. And so we're helping children to work with one another's in a shared space and understand, I need another person's idea in order to be able to fully flesh out my idea, and we can work together, and I value and respect what you have to say, and vice versa. And so helping children to cooperate with one another and recognize that it's okay to have a space where we are all working together helps children to learn what kindness looks like. It helps them to learn what feeling good, that intrinsic motivation. We want children to feel intrinsically motivated to cooperate and collaborate with one another. So We might encourage this with our words and our praise to children. I loved how you went over to check on your friend when they were getting dropped off and started to cry. I think that that made them feel a lot better when you gave each other hugs and you talked to them and you listened to them. I said, I think that they would enjoy that each day. Let me know if you need some support when you're getting dropped off too. I know that sometimes you like to go and check on your friends, and then it might make you feel sad as well. How can I help as a teacher? So we're providing encouragement. We're also empathizing with how children feel. When we are expressing and showing children what we would like them to do, they're more likely to replicate that. We need to teach them these skills by doing them ourselves. And so teaching children what kind words are, how do we talk to someone kindly, what are the consequences of our actions when we've hurt somebody's feelings, and how do we make it right? We don't need to require children to say sorry. We can ask them, what does that other person need? What are things that we can actively do in our words and our behavior to specifically address cooperation and taking care of others in the classroom? Kindness is taking care of others in our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings, and emphasizing compromise, because we're not always going to agree with everybody, and that's okay. That means, hey, I can respect what you have to say and we can agree to disagree, right? And so we're talking about what we can gain from cooperating with one another and compromising, and it's okay to walk away or to share an idea and say, you know what, actually I think we might have different ideas, and that's okay. I want you to fully flesh out your idea, and I'm going to fully flesh out mine. And if we have different ideas, we can still both go forth in the world, sharing our different ideas, making our voices heard. Children need safe spaces to make their voices heard. And as an adult, we are the navigator of this for them. Okay, and last but not least, our final slide on how to support an increase of social competence is to reduce aggression. And so one way that we can do that is identifying truly what's going on below the surface and thinking beyond just the behavior of what we're seeing. Oftentimes, children's aggressive behaviors are connected to what's going on in their environment, what's going on with deeper emotions, potentially what's going on at home, children who are experiencing stress and trauma, children who are victims of bullying, many different reasons that a child might be displaying aggressive behavior. And so as the adult, it's important for us to pinpoint the underlying causes of that aggression and going below the surface to figure out, okay, here's the behavior that I'm seeing, but there's so much more than that. And how do I best support the child in reducing their aggression? So I'm identifying first what's going on and labeling and helping the child to talk about what happened, and potentially identify with them what's going on as that trigger, and then helping them after we've identified and we've talked about it, ways that we can support them in getting what they need, because our behaviors, it's a way for us to get our needs met. And so we need to help children to find strategies, ways that they can get their needs met more effectively, because aggression is not going to be the most appropriate answer to get our needs met. And if we are feeling angry, what are ways that we can have a healthy outlet for that aggression? And so figuring out specific words that children can use, figuring out specific behaviors that they can engage in. So I might provide substitute opportunities for socially acceptable ways to express anger, and alternatives as ways to help children to then reduce how they're feeling in that moment. So oftentimes we have cathartic behaviors with high intensity, and if we are thinking of, okay, I'm just going to give them a high intensity activity, this could potentially keep that high intensity aggression going or increase it, when we want to help children to get back to a window of tolerance if they're hypoaroused, and help them to regulate and get back into that neutral zone so that they can figure out and identify, ooh, I'm feeling really, really angry right now. And these are some strategies that I might use to calm myself in this moment, such as splashing water, getting a sensory toy, doing some relaxing painting, going outside. Spending time in nature is a wonderful way to support children who are hypoaroused or who need to have a reduction in their aggressive behaviors. So learning ways to manage stress healthy outlets of expression are going to be important for children, especially children who are experiencing stress and trauma. They are already going to be triggered more often than not, and so finding ways that we can support them with healthy outlets for emotional expression. And also, just last but not least, just touching here on bullying and how bullying is not allowed and bullying is not going to solve problems. Bullying is not going to be the answer for aggression. And as an adult, we need to say no to bullying and give children the tools that they need to effectively socially and emotionally be successful both inside and outside of the classroom. So whether you're a teacher, a parent, or a caregiver, you do have the ability to voice change in your classroom and create a classroom environment that is going to be safe, welcoming, and supportive of children's needs and development. And so bullying is a no-no, and we want to make sure that any ways that children are engaging in bullying acts, that it's stopped immediately, and we try to get back to, again, the root of the problem. So what is that behavior and what are the underlying causes? Because bullying is an aggressive behavior and there are triggers, underlying reasons that a child may engage in bullying. And so getting back to identifying what's below the surface is going to be the best start. So feel free to check out these additional videos that support the notion of engaging in non-bullying in schools, so stopping any acts of bullying and making sure that children are coming into the classroom using kind, safe, and socially acceptable behaviors. I hope you all enjoyed today's lecture, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you.